I have a rule in my house. If you hate Tanjiro, we can't be friends. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. And it's Tanjiro's birthday, which means, of course, I'm going to make a video about him as the resident Tanjiro lover. I mean, I have an entire shelf dedicated to him, and I've had to force myself to stop buying stuff for him because I literally don't have space left, and I will have to extend it to another shelf, which I clearly also don't really have room for, so I'm kind of stuck. But everyone here knows I love Tanjiro. But why do I love Tanjiro? We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I have mentioned multiple times that I want to make an entire video essay about Tanjiro, and that is in the works. That's going to take a while to make because I want to be very meticulous about it, and I honestly need to rewatch the entire anime, reread the manga, all that stuff, and like take notes and make sure I write down everything that happens and put it all into a script, and that's just going to take some time. I also am not really in a mental space to read the manga right now. If you know, you know. So I promise a very, very, very meticulous and detailed video essay will come about Tanjiro. Probably sometime this year. However, I woke up this morning and I was like, it's Tanjiro's birthday. I love a good excuse to talk about my favorite character in all of media, and I know you all know I like Tanjiro. You might not know fully why I like Tanjiro, so I'm gonna just briefly discuss some of the reasons why I love Tanjiro. I'm gonna try and keep this video at 20 minutes or shorter. We'll see how that goes. I'm also wearing a Tanjiro shirt today with Yorichi. Anyway, this video is gonna be a bit of a ramble because I did not write anything down. I don't tend to write things down when I make videos. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why the video essay is going to come later, is because I'm actually going to make a script for that. I just wanted to get on here and ramble about him for a little while because, well, he deserves it because it's his birthday. So first things first, I just want to get this out of the way. One of the reasons why I love him so much is he's just adorable. Like, every time I see him on my screen, whether he's like being super silly and cute and smiling or super, super angry or sad, I'm just like, I want to just like hug you. I want to be your mother. I don't want to actually be his mother though, because that would mean yeah, we won't go down that road today. But like, how can you look at a picture of him and go, I don't like this character. I hate this character. Like, what did he do to deserve that? Like, there's nothing that he did to deserve someone to say something like that. Even if you think that his writing is boring, he doesn't have to be your favorite character, but like, to physically hate a character that's as adorable and kind as this seriously sets off some red flags in my head that there might be something wrong with you. Okay. Jokes aside, Tanjiro is just really adorable, and I tend to lean towards the cute, sunshine, happy, kind soul characters. When you look at it this way, another character that I love dearly is Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I also love characters like Yuji from Jujutsu Kaisen and Deku from My Hero Academia. Now, these are not my favorite characters in that show because the other characters I really like are the like sad, depressed, quiet ones, which is really funny when you think about the contrast of my two favorite types of characters. So in Jujutsu Kaisen, my favorite character is Megumi. In My Hero, my favorite character is Todoroki. So it's like, okay, that checks out. Giyu is my second favorite character in Demon Slayer. That checks out. But the reason why Tanjiro is my favorite character in Demon Slayer is because I think he's the epitome of what a kind, sunshine character should be. Because they mix a really good amount of human in with him. And that's my favorite thing about him. He is always trying to make the right decisions. He is incredibly selfless. In fact, he's one of the only Sunshine characters where his entire goal doesn't really have much selfishness in it. It has a little bit, because I think at the end of the day, him wanting to turn Nezuko back into a human is still a little bit inherently selfish. Because at the end of the day, he kind of wants to live this normal life with her, and it's not all just about, like, her. It's about what he wants as well. However, he never wants to be a Hashira. He never wants to be the strongest demon slayer. He genuinely just wants to kill Muzan and turn his sister into a human and live a normal life. And that's what I really like about it, is that it's a good mix of the goals aren't inherently selfish, but they're not completely selfless. He's a good character that represents a kind soul that always wants to do the best but is human. Of course, I could go into depth about how the end of Swordsmith Village shows that a lot, because that's kind of the crossroads in his journey, where the job that he took in order to fulfill his goals in life, which is to turn Nezuko into a human, is directly contrasting that very goal. And one thing that I don't think people understand in that moment at the end of Swordsmith Village is that he chose Nezuko. Yes, he's saying, oh, I can't decide. I think that's him internally trying to force himself to believe that he could make the right decision, that he knows is going to save the swordsmiths, but he won't let go of his sister. He cannot let go of her, and he's chosen her. She's the one who chose to give up her life in order to protect those swordsmiths, and she's the one who told him, go, do that, leave me behind. And this is the perfect depiction of a character that genuinely wants to do what's right, but at the end of the day, when you have the person that he dedicates his life to in front of him, he's going to be selfish and choose them. There's so many instances in the story where he has those selfish tendencies and they show through whatever he's doing, and that's like the biggest one that I'm going to bring up here. But that's what I love about him, is that he's not just like too perfect. And when people say he's too perfect, I'm like, he's not, because he, yes, is more perfect than the average person, and he's about as close to perfect as you can get. He's like a little angel, but he still makes those bad decisions, and he still has those selfish tendencies, which is what I love about him so much. Also, he's not just like a talk no jutsu. A lot of people say like, oh, he's just gonna try and turn all these demons. He never does that once. Like, I don't think people understand, and he legitimately says it in the story. He does not hesitate to kill these demons. He knows what his job is, and he's not trying to, like, make friends with them along the way. The only demons that he makes friends with never once showed him that, like, they want to kill people. Like, if you look at Tamayo and Yushiro, he chose to trust them because of their scent, and also because they were never fighting against him. When he's fighting against a demon who's actively trying to kill him and kill others, he does not stop and try and talk to them. That never happens. The empathy that he feels for the demons is after he's beheaded them, and he can sense that they were hurt, they were manipulated, and he chooses to show empathy for them and hope that they're reborn as humans and not demons, and they don't kill more. And that's another thing that I just love about him, is that he is not just like constantly trying to just talk people out of it and just forgive everyone. He doesn't forgive these demons. He shows them empathy, and he hopes that they can earn forgiveness in the future. And that is very important to understand about his character, and it's one of the things that I love about him. You could say Aang is a little bit different than that, in that he just chooses to forgive these people and for everything that they've done. And while that's important for Aang and his story, it can get, like, unrealistic at times, where he's just forgiveness, 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 while Tanjiro's like, no, I'm not going to forgive you. You killed thousands of people. I'm not going to forgive you. You killed my family. But I will, like, show empathy after I've taken care of you, because I understand where you came from. And it's so good. It's just, so many people overlook that, and that's one of the things that I love about him. I was once watching a YouTube video that was a video essay about him, and they were just talking about how much they loved him and how he was misunderstood by a lot of people. And then at the end they were like, okay, there is one thing I'm going to critique. I'm like, okay, you know, like, it's good to have critiques over your favorite characters. That makes sense. And then they talked about the fact that they felt like Tanjiro didn't influence anyone around him. The entire story revolves around his influence on the other characters. 90% of the characters get their development because of his influence on them. I mean, let's look at Genya, for example. Genya at the beginning of Swordsmith Village was literally like a mini Sanemi of being, like, super freaking angry and just yelling at him, and of course, at final selection, he's, like, trying to hurt one of the Ubuyashiki kids because they weren't doing what he wanted, and Tanjiro literally had to break his arm to get him to stop. Like, Genya was, like, a very angry and just easily annoyed, and then you look at him in Hashira training, and he's soft, and he's like, I know you can do it, Tanjiro. This happened because of Tanjiro's influence on him, and this is just one character out of the many that changed because of their experience with Tanjiro. Because Tanjiro himself doesn't have to go through a ton of development in this story. Tanjiro's character arc is a lot less about learning and growing and becoming a better person because he's already a good person. Tanjiro's story is about hanging on to that goodness even when the world throws so much pain at you. All these other characters changed because of the trauma that they went through, usually into not as good people, and then they met Tanjiro, and he just kind of slowly chipped away at them. And again, Genya is just one example of many characters. Kanao's entire character is revolved around the influence that Tanjiro has on her. Inosuke, too. I can't get into details about him because, and Kanao, a lot of these characters, their development is still to come, but it still revolves around Tanjiro and the influence that he had on them. And that's what makes the story move forward, is that Tanjiro, while he's not the chosen one, he's not the one with the ability to take down Muzan-ish, he's not like a Harry Potter. It's not like he is alone the person that can take down Muzan. It's a group effort. It needs to be a group effort. It's just Tanjiro has some abilities and the personality to bring everyone together, to bring humanity against Muzan, to take him down. And I love that. Also, Tanjiro is a bit savage. A lot of people think that Tanjiro just speaks respectfully to all of the Hashira and all of the leaders, because in Japan, you have this thing called keigo, which is a polite form of the language, where usually you're supposed to use this with anyone of higher rank than you, people who are older than you, and the works, kind of like that. So technically, Tanjiro should always be using keigo with Hashira, with the master, with anyone who is ranked higher than him. But one thing that I've found interesting, I've listened very closely to when he uses keigo and when he doesn't, and he doesn't always use keigo with the Hashira. And that's because Tanjiro is like, I will show you respect if you deserve it. A good example of this is with Sanemi. Now, if you look at the recent season of Hashira training, when Sanemi first meets up with him with, like, Zenitsu trying to run away and everything, Tanjiro is still being very, like, kind of disrespectful to him and being like, I don't recognize you either because you stabbed Nezuko, and like walked away with a smile on his face. He still used keigo in that moment because he still understood, like, this man is a Hashira, he is higher ranked than me, the master told me I need to mind my tongue when I'm speaking to them. That means that, hey, you need to use the respectful language when you're speaking to the Hashira because they still deserve your respect because they've worked very hard and put a lot of life on the line to get there. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give him another chance. I'm going to show respect to him. But then we fast forward to later on in that episode after Sanemi does the whole thing with Genya. There's no keigo in that speech that Tanjiro gives Sanemi. Not one hint of respectful language in his mouth. And I love that because it's like, hey, I'm going to show you respect if you deserve it. And Sanemi was not deserving it in that moment. Tanjiro is a bit of a savage for that because you would think the way he was raised, his parents probably taught him, like, you always show respect to your elders, to anyone who's older than you, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that's still very common in Japan. Like, if you're speaking to a stranger, if you're thinking to a senpai or like a coworker who's above you, you always use keigo form whenever you're speaking to them. He's just like, I'll do it if they deserve it. And I love that about him because there's no excuses in his brain. You either deserve that respect or you don't deserve that respect. It makes him more human. It makes him not moral Jesus, and I love that about him. There's just so much to love about Tanjiro, and I think he deserves so much more love from the fandom. I think he's very misunderstood, as is a lot of the characters, because the character writing, to me, is by far the strongest aspect of Demon Slayer. And we need to put more respect on his name. So let's put more respect on his name today, on his birthday, because he deserves it. And I'm going to go into way more detail later on, like I said, about why I love him so much. But this was just kind of an overview. At the end of the day, Tanjiro is a pure soul who just wants what's best, but makes mistakes along the way and still impacts the people around him so that they can be better people because of him. It's never felt forced to me. It's never felt like it's something that he was just straight up taught. It's felt very natural, like that's just who he is and who he wants to be. And he's striving every day to be that kind person. And sometimes he fails, sometimes he struggles, but he does his best to always be kind to the people who deserve it and show empathy when needed, when it's supposed to happen. And he's got a good mix of everything, which is why I love him so much. I think most other kind characters, they're either too much one way or too much the other. And Tanjiro just perfectly encapsulates everything that a kind MC should be. So let's all love on him a little extra today. It's Tanjiro's birthday. He deserves all the love in the world. But that is it for today's video before I go off a cliff and just ramble for an hour. I will make a full video about it someday. I promise it's gonna happen. But if you liked this video, don't forget to like this video. Leave your comment on what you think of Tanjiro and why you love him so much. Let's just keep the love going in the comment section and say your main reason for loving him. You don't have to say he's your favorite character. It's okay if he's not your favorite character, but let's just show him a little bit of love for his birthday. You can also follow me on all my social media. I am at Looking Nerdy on Instagram, X, and TikTok. With that, I thank you for watching today. Wish Tanjiro a happy birthday, or in Japanese, o tanchobi omedetou gozaimasu. Ja ne!